Hey world, how is everybody? Hope everybody's having a good week and ready for a good 4th of July weekend. I know there's not a whole lot going on. A lot of stuff's been canceled, but still no reason you can't try to enjoy the 4th of July. I just wanted to talk a little bit about voting and why voting is always important. I don't want to say it's more important now than ever before, because voting's always important. We're one of a handful of places in the entire world that is actually allowed to take part in voting and choosing the people that represent us and who is in our government, and we have a say. And it's not something that a lot of places and a lot of people have the privilege of being able to take part in. So it's important for us to definitely exercise that right. Especially right now, there's a lot of things going on in the world. A lot of crazy things going on right here in this country, and it's our right to vote, and it's our duty to vote. We need to have our input, and the more people that vote, the more true of a representation of the country we're going to get. And so I also think it's important to be informed about who you're voting for and why you're voting and everything that's going on with specific politicians. One thing I would say is try not to let the mainstream media tell you what your opinion should be. If you want to watch CNN or Fox or MSNBC, go for it, but don't take their word for everything. Watch these politicians speak themselves, read their policies, and see what they're doing and see what they're saying. If someone gives a 45-minute speech or a 45-minute town hall, and CNN or Fox or whoever, all they have is 5 seconds of soundbite, it's probably being taken out of context. And you should assume that what they're telling you is what they want you to perceive it as. I would say watch it. If you like a person or if you hate a person, that's fine. Watch them, and form your own opinion. Use your own brain. Come up with your own conclusions as to what they're saying. Don't allow the mainstream media or Facebook or Instagram or whoever tell you what you should think about a certain person. Watch those people, read their policies, research the individual, and decide for yourself what you think and how you feel about the individual. Because all of these media places and they all have their own agendas. That's why you can see the same story on multiple networks, and each one is going to have a completely different spin on what is going on. It's because they all have their own agenda. So I would say just be informed. Don't let other people tell you your opinion. Form your own opinion. Watch the town halls. Watch the debates, not the snippets, the 3-minute clips and fast clips on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and watch them yourselves. Form your own opinion on what is being said and how you feel about the individual topics and the individual policies, and just be informed when you're going to vote, because you want it to be an ultimate representation of how you feel, not how everyone is telling you that you should feel about certain things. And it's really important because, like I said, there's a lot of things going on right now. There's a lot of very polarizing issues, and you want to make sure that you know your facts when you're going, that you know exactly what's going on, exactly what these individual people want to do, where they're coming from, what their policies entail, what their policies mean, and not just what someone is dictating to you. And there's a lot of important things that you need to keep in mind when you're going to vote this time. I know if you're a very strong proponent of free speech, there's a lot of things going on with your freedom of speech right now. There's certain people that would like to define unacceptable speech, and if that's something that you're concerned with, a group of people being able to decide what's acceptable and what's not, you need to go vote accordingly. If you're a very strong supporter of your Second Amendment, that's always under scrutiny, and that's in danger all the time. And right now, there's a lot of people pushing legislation to restrict your Second Amendment, and even in some cases take it away completely. So if that's something that you think is really important, you need to do your research and vote accordingly. And there's just so much going on that to really get a good representation of the country and how the people feel, more people need to vote. And even if you know, oh, I like this person, but they're definitely going to win, so I don't need to vote. Or I like this person, but they're probably not going to win, so I don't need to vote. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. You need to go vote. If everybody who said that they don't need to vote because they either think their person's definitely going to win or this person's definitely going to lose, if all of those people went and voted, it would be a completely different outcome. And it would be more representative of what's going on. So there's no reason to think that you don't need to, and every reason to think that you do need to. And there's a lot of pushback, I guess, right now about the Electoral College, and it serves a purpose. There is a big purpose behind the Electoral College, and that is that when people cluster together in big groups in cities, New York, Los Angeles, big cities like that, when people are very close together, they tend to, over time, adopt the same views. It's just nature. You put enough people together in a small place, and they will, for the most part, not every single person, but for the most part, they will adopt a similar view set. And so with those major cities like that, if they did not have an electoral college, then the people running for president would only focus on these major cities, and they would completely ignore the bulk of the country because they're just trying to get the majority of the people, which would be picking major cities. But life in a major city is completely different from life in middle America and in the more country areas. And so they need to make sure that those other places with smaller populations are still heard, that their voices still count. So what the Electoral College does is it's not taking away the popular vote, it's changing it. You're not looking for the popular vote as far as the most people, you're looking for the popular vote as far as the most states to get the most electoral votes, which forces the candidates to appease a bigger majority of the country as far as space. They have to campaign and canvass a bigger area and speak to bigger groups of people in different places to get the support of more of the overall country. And like I said, the major cities, when people are clustered together, they do tend to lean the same direction. And if you get 3 of the biggest cities in the country that are all leaning the same direction, then the whole rest of the country is going to get ignored if they're simply going for the popular vote. They still need the popular vote, but they need the popular vote of the entire country, the most of the states, not just these handful of cities that contain the most people. And that's to ensure that everybody's voice and opinion counts. Even the small towns and the small states that don't have large populations, their voice still counts. They're not going to be told what to do by 3 major cities dictating the way that the rest of the country needs to be ran. And so it does serve a purpose, and I think it's important. And if you think that the Electoral College is important, you need to research your candidates and vote accordingly, because that is another thing that is being questioned and catching pushback. And it's our way of There's a reason that the government can't, even if they say that they want to make these huge dramatic changes, they really can't, because every 2 to 4 years we get a chance to start replacing people. So if we don't like the direction that they're going, we have the opportunity to vote, we have the opportunity to place new people in, and that's our check and our balance on the government. They work for us, and it's our way to make sure that they remember that they work for us. We do not work for them. And so, yeah, like I said, it's important now, but it always is important. And the biggest thing is just know that your vote always counts. Never assume that it's your candidate's not going to win, so you don't need to vote, or your candidate's definitely going to win, so you don't need to vote. Both cases, no, you have to go vote. If you want to be able to complain about the person that gets elected, you have to vote. If you don't vote and then complain about the person that's elected, you have no ground to stand on, because you didn't partake in the process. You could have had an impact on what happened, and you chose not to. So it's an important reason there. There's always a reason to vote. There's never a reason not to vote. Be informed. Research your candidates. Watch them speak. Watch their speeches, watch their town halls, watch their debates, and form your own opinion about them. Don't let someone else give you that opinion. And just remember, it's a right. The biggest thing we can do with our rights is exercise them. If anybody can convince you to not exercise your right because it's either inconvenient or you're afraid of being criticized for exercising a certain right, or anything like that, if they can convince you to not use it, then they don't need to take it away from you. They've already taken it away from you by convincing you that it's not important. All of your rights are important. They all apply to everybody, and we should exercise all of them. And yeah, so go vote. Get out, vote, understand who you're voting for, what you're voting for. Whichever way you go, make your voice heard. Go cast your ballot. And that was my little rant about voting. Take it with a grain of salt. That's just kind of how I feel about everything. I'm nobody important. That's just what I have to say on it and how I feel about it. And if you disagree, tell me about it in the comments. If you agree, tell me about it in the comments. But yeah, go vote. Make your voice heard.